Welcome to the Virtuality Podcast. This is Craig Herndon. I'm here with Andy Greff from PLNAR, which is working on an enterprise AR solution that also is the measuring app. So Andy, why don't you go ahead and get into like the main use case that you're trying to solve?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, by the way. So PLNAR is an app and cloud solution for businesses. We're initially targeting the insurance carrier world, helping them out with their interior claims. So if you've ever had a home or water damage claim, somebody's had to come over, they've had to measure, take pictures, and gather all the data there. And then, a couple days later, you'll get a check. Well, our system helps automate all that so the homeowner can do it themselves, or a cheaper, less expensive inspector can come by, gather that information, and all of that information is sent to our cloud process. We generate reports, real-time 3D models, and integrate with all the insurance carriers back end. We're also working on a separate vertical in the home remodeling space. So if you have kitchen, bathroom remodeling, basement refinishing, window treatment changes, all of that is fantastic because our PLNAR app not only provides you all the measurements of the space, but it provides you all the context of the room. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're focusing on. We initially started off with measurements, but we're moving on into everything that you need from inside that room. Give me all the context. Tell me all about that room. And it starts off with measurements and then goes into context, texture, content, things like that.
So from a consumer standpoint, what are some of the use cases? Like for one, you just mentioned insurance where I can go in and instead of having to wait for someone to come on site, I can just scan the room myself and then send whatever they need.
Well, from a consumer perspective, the app is still wide open for any DIYers that want to use the app, right? So you can go, let's say I'm a DIYer and I'm doing my own kitchen or bathroom remodel, or I want to see how much paint I'm going to need or how much flooring I'm going to need. So as a consumer, I can still go in and use PLNAR and generate all the material takeoffs. So that the industry term is what are all the summary measurements that you need, also referred to as material takeoffs. So I can go into PLNAR. I can say, okay, I've got 3 rooms. I need to redo all the flooring and paint in all 3 rooms. And so you can use PLNAR, measure all 3 rooms, and automatically generate a report that'll tell you, here's how much flooring I need. Here's how much square footage on the walls that I'll need for paint. And that's all sent up to the cloud where you can log in. You can see the project there. You can get the full report. You can bring it over to your Home Depot or Lowe's or however you want to do it. And you have all the information you need. So from a DIYer perspective, it's actually really, really cool solution for them as well. It's just when if an insurance carrier sends you a link that says, hey, why don't you use PLNAR to submit your claim, then all that data is directly sent up to the insurance carrier versus being made available to you. So we have a very multi-tenanted backend for DIYers and for companies.
Very nice. And if I'm right, you're based out of Austin, Texas?
Austin, Texas. 98 degrees right now.
All right. And how big is your team?
Right now we have a 6-person team. And growing. We're just in the process of closing a round right now that'll enable us to accelerate and grow in the enterprise AR space.
And how did you find out about like the global AR pitch? And what was the process like of getting in?
I think Tom Emmerich invited me in. So Tom found us, and I originally pitched in the AWE Thursday night event. I think at the time it was a Monday night event. So I demonstrated the Microsoft Reactor to a group of about 150, 200 folks and was introduced to all the various AR, VR, VCs through that process. And they heard the pitch and I was selected as a finalist for the global AR pitch. And then I did that online. And then I also did it at the AWE conference in Santa Clara a couple weeks back.
All right. So back to the app itself, what are some of the challenges you've run into while trying to get these measurements? Like what devices do you support? Let's get into the details.
Sure. Right now we're focusing on iPhone. I've probably done around 700 mobile apps in my career. And really for new businesses and folks that are just starting out, it's best to focus on one operating system while you trying to dial in the business model use case and perfect it, right? So we're on iPhone right now, and we'll build out Android before the end of the year, which is exciting. Some of the issues that we've associated with that we've come up with is, as you can imagine, rolling out AR to the masses is complicated and difficult, right? You have end users that are just finally getting used to connecting to Wi-Fi that you're and downloading an app, and now you're asking them to use augmented reality to sketch out their room, right? Talk about a massive leap there, right? In technology and use case. And so, number one, you kind of have to explain augmented reality to them to a certain extent, but you also have to. AR has this whole, I would say, UX metaphor that people really haven't dialed in and they don't understand quite yet, right? So if you're a gamer, you understand that, hey, if I point the target at certain things, menus pop up and stuff happens. But the normal user doesn't understand that. So how do you walk them through, guiding them through selecting that? And frankly, that's been a significant portion of our usability and our testing and our feedback is, if we are targeting that, that DIYer, the person who's not an expert, how do we make sure that this is simple enough and beautiful enough and fun enough for them to use it? And that's really where we spend a lot of time on that.
So the main challenge hasn't been specifically from the technological standpoint, but more in now that we have this out of the way, how do we train users to be able to use it? It has been the difficulty.
I think the AR kit enabled a lot of the key things. And then when you're building on AR kit, it's really enabling the tutorials of process, the backend integration. I mean, all the boring stuff in enterprise software, hey, we got to make sure security is there. We got to make sure team management is there. We got to make sure the APIs are there, integration of the backend systems. Nobody wants to hear about all that because it's kind of the boring stuff that just happens behind the scenes, right? And that's challenging in and of itself. It takes time, it takes money, it takes, project management to get all that stuff done. And that's a big, hairy ordeal there. But, the sexy, difficult stuff, if you will, that's more pertinent to kind of the folks that I would imagine for your podcast is really just the AR aspect of it. So technology there, yes. Accuracy on the measurements, things that we see is also drift, meaning are the objects that you're placing in the space, do they stay there or are they moving slightly? And as you can imagine in measurements, that's super critical, right?
Yep.
If, for example, if I go through and I lay out a room, and then I walk out of that room and then come back in, is everything in the exact same spot? So I would say some of the big technical issues we're facing are some of the big technical issues that everybody's facing. So persistence, remembering where you were. And to a certain extent, Google and Apple have launched their own, persistence layers and cloud anchors and things like that should help out. It's something that I think the ecosystem as a whole are trying to accomplish and solve and versus our little small company, right? We're trying to build on top of some of the enabling technologies out there.
So back to the example with like the insurance, right? So would they use an app specifically that you have, or would the insurance company have their own app that uses PLNAR that basically gets the information that they need and sent? Or does like the user have to go in, get it, export it somewhere, and then send it? Like, what's the actual workflow look like for that?
Well, it depends. So a lot of these carriers, they're outsourced they're adjusting to what they call TPAs, third-party adjusting companies, or some of them have them in-house. The way we like to roll it out to the carriers is we'll give them their own branded PLNAR app. Okay. So it'll have their brand on it. It'll be configured for their specific flow. So as you know, AR is a great medium for training people on how to do things. So what we'll do is we'll give them their own PLNAR app with their own configured flow on the process that their adjusters need to go through specific to them. So for example, in each room, we need you to take 8 pictures, right? And we'll walk them through taking those pictures, right? And we need to make sure you measure left, right, front, center, and the light bulbs on the wall. I don't know, right? It depends on what their on what their adjustment policy is. And so we'll give them their own app. Alternatively, we could enable that within our own PLNAR app. So if the use case would be, Craig, let's say that you have a water leak in your basement. Okay, you get and you call up and say, hey, I've got an issue. What they would do is they would text you a link. It would open up the PLNAR app, but you'd already be pre-registered as having a claim with, I don't know, your local property and casualty company. We would know who you are. We'd walk you through the process of gathering that information in the PLNAR app, and then it would be sent up. Okay, so there's kind of two mediums. One, we can leverage the existing PLNAR app, and two, they can have their own branded version of the PLNAR app.
I see. So it's whatever workflow works best for them.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so also see, like, what kind of file does it end up exporting? Is it like an FBX, or what kind of model is created?
We have quite a few, actually. We have, and I knew you were going to ask me this, and I need to go and make sure I answer it the right way. You have several different file types: OBJ file type, GLTF, PLTY, and I think there's a third out there, but mostly CAD types that can be imported into some of the various 3D imaging systems, CAD systems out there, and DXF is another one that we support. But these newer CAD file formats, and I think Apple just announced their own file format as well that we'll support. But the whole point is that our system allows expansive annotation. So, for example, you can say, hey, there's a water stain, here's damage, and you can voice or text annotate the space, and all that data needs to find its way back into the 3D model. And so you can't just use some of the more simpler
tagging with voice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So as you're walking around, you say, hey, look at this water stain, and then it captures that water stain, or the tag on top of that water stain. And that water stain actually is measured, is tagged, and finds its way all the way into the APIs as well.
That's pretty cool. Very nice. Yeah, and then it's also just easy usability, right? To train the user to just say, hey, look at this, and then it just records whatever it is based on where and then it records based on like what it's looking at. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
I think our goal is we're probably at we have this goal for the 1Xer, if you will, meaning like somebody who's going to use it once. How do we make sure that they're going through the entire process nice and have no issues and know exactly what to do? And as you can imagine, being in software, that's a difficult thing to do, right? I mean, every app out there, every website wants to make it super easy for someone to go through it, and simplicity is actually a difficult thing to build out. And so that's what we've been doing, and really where our focus is.
And do you have some other partners that you're allowed to talk about?
Sure. Yeah. One of our biggest partners is a company called Genpact, Genpact. They've launched their Inspector Pro solution. Basically, in the insurance world, one of the big issues that they have is the aging out of adjusters and the retirement of adjusters. It's actually an industry where over 30% of the existing adjuster base is going to retire in the next 4 years. And that's a massive turnover.
Yeah, that's huge.
And these are huge turnover, right? And it's a tough business because you're on the road 6 months a year. And you're chasing catastrophes, and most of the times you're dealing with pretty upset and distraught folks because usually something happened to their house, right? Whether that's a hurricane or a fire or flood or something like that. And so not many people are going into it, and they're aging out. And so you have this massive skills gap. And so what they're trying to do is and how we help is we address it in two ways. One, the longer term vision is to enable a self-service so the homeowner can do everything. But what Genpact has done is they've launched what they call an Inspector Pro solution. And so instead of, $500 for adjuster, it's $80 to send out a lesser trained, lesser skilled person that can go and do this all for you, right? They'll capture all the pictures. They'll do all the measurements using PLNR, right? Using their version of PLNR, and all that data goes to Genpact's backend, through our APIs. And then they already have all the pre-existing integrations to all of their carrier, customers. And so it's a great channel for us. So they have, I think 5,000 certified adjusters, plus they've got another 15 to 20,000 inspectors, in their system that they can go and dispatch.
That's a lot of people. So you're saying 4 to 5,000 of those are just going to be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's 5,000 adjusters today, certified adjusters, and then they have 15 to 20,000 inspectors. So those are not adjusters. Those are the lesser skilled, kind of like Uber of adjusters, right?
Yep.
It's hey, I'll take this hour training class on how to use the Genpact system. Great. I'm ready. I can be deployed to go look at, a small flood or something like that.
That makes sense because it's not something that's needed every day, but it's something that needs to be on call every day.
And what happens is they'll put the actual trained adjusters is called desk adjusting. They'll put those desk adjusters appropriately named in a desk, right? And then and they can handle, instead of doing one claim a day, they can handle 20, right? So all the data is coming into them, and they simply just look at it. It's all digitized already. They can look for any anomalies, any fraud, any things that may cause issues, and they can write the estimate right there. Boom, all the data's there, and they go.
And then I would assume if there's any issues, that remote desker can then also provide remote assistance. To
right,
someone in the field.
Right. Yeah, the remote inspector can go on site and gather more information. I mean, right now, most of the claims are settled in 2 to 3 visits. So, just reducing one visit for one of these expensive adjusters is huge. And think about it this way: it's like the insurance industry is there's 30 million claims out there. So if we move the needle right now, what they're trying to do is move the needle 1 or 2%, because that results in millions and millions and millions of dollars saved. What PLNAR does, we're talking about a 30 to 40% reduction in cost, time, effort. This is a massive, massive disruptor in the insurance claims space. So
yeah, that's huge. Anytime you reduce costs by that much, at the same time you're addressing issues of people leaving and then just saving time. Anytime that you've now given people ability to go work on something else, get through more as well, not only reducing costs per one, but now you can do more claims in a given time, and it's huge.
And the insurance claims, as you see in all the commercials, I mean, I think they're the next to like the fantasy football, fantasy daily gambling sites. They spend the most money on advertising, right? But why? Because it's all about customer sat, and you can see them advertising, hey, we can get your claim done in no time, right? Yeah, they can do it for roof claims, they can do it for auto claims, but they can't do it for interior claims yet until we showed up. And so getting your check fast is really important. I mean, FEMA, which does the flood insurance, the government does the flood insurance for people that have, flood damage, right? Where rising waters and hurricanes cause damage. It was taking them 3 to 4 months to get a check from FEMA, because they had so many homes damaged in Harvey and Irma, and there are so few adjusters out there. So imagine you're displaced from your home. FEMA doesn't give you any money until an adjuster's been on site, takes some pictures, looks at the damage, validates that it's okay, writes on a piece of paper, yeah, it's all done, and then goes and submits it to FEMA, right? You have no money. You have no house. You have nowhere to live. So that's an extreme scenario, but it actually happened up in when Hurricane Sandy hit in New York, and it happened again in Harvey and Irma, right? People have to sit there and wait for FEMA to do it. And so imagine if there's a way that you could you'd be very motivated if you had the choice between, okay, I can wait 3 to 4 months to get a check, or I download this app and I can run this claims process right in 15 minutes, and then I can get a check as a result of that.
And that is life changing, right? Where I think people in general wouldn't be all that interested that you're saving insurance companies money, but if you're making the difference between someone being homeless for 3 to 4 months before they can get their insurance check, and then someone reducing that to like a week, that's night and
huge,
day, right?
It's huge. Yeah. And they always say, well, how do we know that homeowners will want to do that? To me, that it's one of those things that just sells itself, right? So
Yeah,
Of course I
especially
want to do
if it involves you getting money faster, right? Because
it. Right.
like I don't know anyone that's dealt with insurance that talks about how quickly they got paid. It just
You know,
doesn't
it,
happen.
it doesn't happen. Some of the good ones out there, they've gotten pretty good about, like I said, they've gotten good about your auto and they've gotten good about your roof, right? My insurance carrier, USAA, is tremendous, right? They'll pay you right away. They get a check to you right away. The problem has been, they still have to get an adjuster. As soon as the adjuster is done, then they'll cut your check really fast. But getting somebody on site to look at it, and then if it's flood, then there's a lot more issues. And then inside the home is a problem as well, because you got to be there, and I don't know, it's just complicated. So,
and is there anything else you wanted to cover or talk about?
Well, I just think that we're right now we're very we built our system to be input agnostic, right? So we're kind of Switzerland when it comes to what the data collection, and we just think about the AR piece as data collection for us, right? We're on iPhone right now, but the majority of our IP and our technology is in our cloud system, right? So Android, iPhone, eventually, in the AR world, there'll be other people that come out. I know Google has announced that Chrome is going to be the web, the browser is going to be able to support some AR capabilities. I know Amazon's starting to get into the space. Obviously, you have Microsoft HoloLens, things like that. So for us, it's a dance on trying to make the best user experience, the device that everybody already has, because we obviously don't want to have to send out a piece of hardware, and then putting all logic into the cloud that can support these businesses very, very, very easily. And I've been doing enterprise software for 22 years, mobile and cloud, and even old school client server systems. So I know the space really well.
And if people wanted to contact you, how would they go about it?
Yeah, just go out to our site, planr.co, PLNAR.co, and you can click on the little chat box and find us. You can go sign up for a trial out there, and otherwise, just that's probably the best way to get a hold of us. You can send us an email at sales@smartpicture3d.com. But easiest way is go to planr.co, PLNAR.co.
Got it. And is there social media or anything that you want to share?
Yeah, PLNAR App on Twitter and Instagram, PLNAR App, and Facebook PLNAR App. So, yeah.
Awesome. And one more question. What was your favorite thing at AWE that you saw?
DJ. The VR DJ guys were awesome. So you could, what would they, Tribe? Is that what it was called? I can't remember. But
I believe it was Tribe VR.
Yeah, Tribe VR. And so you would go over, my CTO did this, and so he went over and they gave you a VR training session. And then I was watching on another computer so I could see and hear all the training that he would go through. I can see his hands in VR kind of training this stuff and figuring out how to be a DJ. And then they actually had a DJ there that they walked him around. Then he got on the turntable and, or what's that thing called? I'm too old, right? What is that?
The
deck. He's on the deck,
there you go.
right? And then he goes and he's spinning up there. That was awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah, I do want to talk to them as well, just to figure out like if they've had actual DJs come on and use it and things like that. And Tribe VR is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And you're going to see us on stage next year up there. And because most of the folks that were getting up saying, hey, we think it can be used here. We've got this great platform, but we need to find a specific use case for AR or VR in the enterprise, right? And there's some folks that were doing it in the machining world, right, in the manufacturing world. But I think to me, the real world application use cases were few and far between. And so what you'll see next year is people like PLNAR getting out there and saying, we found and we are disrupting the space this way. So.
Yeah, and I think that's just more like as the industry goes, more projects like this will start coming out about the real world use cases. Right now, I think you're right that we do see a lot of pitching the technology, go find a use case for it. But I think as more in-depth actual use cases that are solving real-day problems that we're dealing with all the time and can save costs, of course, that's just going to happen over time. So it just takes time. Anyway, Andy, it was great having you. And we'll see you in this reality and the next.
Thank you so much for listening. We would like to keep sharing more about VR and AR with you, so please consider a few dollars to our Patreon, linked in the show notes. The Virtuality Podcast is produced by Jason Parks and music by Rachel Dazinski. This podcast is in collaboration with Boston VR and Boston AR. Monthly meetups and events can be found on meetup.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @VirtualityCast and learn more at our website, virtuality.show.